Hi guys, my name is Amber and welcome back to my channel, Amber Eats Books. I'm here today to bring you my June book haul, and oh my goodness, it's quite a few books. I did not expect to buy this many books in the month of June. I will premise this by saying that back in April, I entered a contest for Independent Bookstore Day, and if you visited 15 out of the 20 bookstores here in my state of Connecticut, during Independent Bookstore Day weekend, you were eligible to get $500 worth of gift certificates. So they gave you $25 gift certificate to each of the 20 stores. So my husband and I went away for a couple of days at the end of June, and while we were away, we visited quite a few of those bookstores to actually cash in my gift certificates and get books. Some of these bookstores sell used books, so I was able to get quite a few more books for the money I was spending, and some of these other ones were just brand new books, so I only got maybe 1 or 2 books at those stores. So I'm really excited to show you what I got. One of the first books I picked up was Smoke in the Sun by Renee Ahdieh. This is the sequel to Flame in the Mist. I absolutely loved Flame in the Mist. I just finished reading it. I think I gave it 4 stars, I want to say. Really enjoyed it, and this actually is a signed copy. I was so excited to be able to use my gift card, get a signed copy, and I didn't have to actually spend any of my own money on it, which is fantastic. And I love this cover. It's beautiful. And as you guys know, I don't really know a ton about what these books are about. Obviously, this is the sequel to something, so I can't really give you a synopsis of the book. But if you want to know any of the books, what any of them are about, I will leave a list of the books down below so you guys can, you know, go and check them out at some point, maybe on Goodreads or Amazon or wherever. Another book I picked up is one that I've already read, but I was so excited to own, and that is Nevermoor, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is my favorite middle grade book that I've read in the last couple of years. I just adore this book. It's sort of similar to Harry Potter. It like kind of gives you those Harry Potter vibes, but the story is different. It's not like a copycat story. It just kind of gives you those same feelings like when you first read Harry Potter. That's how I felt about this book. It was magical, it was fun, and I can't wait to get my hands on the sequel. Another book I picked up was one that I'm really looking forward to reading, and that is The Outsider by Stephen King. So many people have read this already and they've really enjoyed it, which his last book didn't quite get as many good reviews as this one's getting. So I am excited to dive into this. I'm hoping by October, maybe around, you know, the spooky season. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get to it before then if I can't, you know, take the hype anymore, but I am really excited to read this one. The next book is another one that I've been excited to read, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. This will be my first Jenkins Reid book. A lot of people love her, and so many people have praised this book. I mean, the hype is real, so I'm going into it with really high expectations, which is probably not the way to go into a book, but I'm really excited to jump into it, so I can't wait to see what all the hype's about. Another book I picked up was a middle grade book, Furthermore by Tahereh Mafi. I actually picked up the sequel to this, Witchwood, a couple of weeks ago at my local Goodwill. So while we were out, I saw this and I was like, well, I have to get it because I already have Witchwood. I don't know if I'll like it. I don't know if it's something that will be like my cup of tea, but I have a younger daughter who, if I don't like it, she probably will, and she might get a lot out of it. So I didn't hesitate when I picked this up. Another book I picked up was one that I'm going into with, you know, tentative hopes, and that is The Mermaid by Christina Henry. I read Alice and the Red Queen by the same author. Loved both of those books. They were fantastic. Then I read Lost Boys, and I was just not as blown away by that book. I just didn't really enjoy it that much. So I'm hoping this one will kind of like bring back my love for this author. I'm excited, and anything to do with mermaids in the summer just sounds like a slam dunk, so hopefully I will love it. Another book I picked up was Teacher Man by McCourt. I have Angela's Ashes and Tis, which are 2 of his other books. I have not read either one. I'm hoping I like them. I know this is like a memoir type story, so I picked this one up knowing that I have the other 2, and I'll be able to just read through them at some point. The next book I picked up was Jane Steele by Lindsay Faye. I think this is based off of Jane Eyre. It's like a retelling of Jane Eyre. I've not read Jane Eyre. It is on my shelf. I do want to read it, but I'm so glad to have picked this up because I love the cover and I am excited to get into the story because so many people that read it really enjoyed it. Then last year, one of my favorite books was Saving Simon by Katz. So I had to go ahead and pick up Izzy and Lenore by John Katz. This is a book about a couple of his dogs, and he just did such a good job with Saving Simon that I had to grab this. Taking a break from the books for the moment, I also picked up a little notebook while I was out, and it's this cute one. It says, "Enjoy the little things," and it's a sloth. I love them so much. I think they're so cute. So I had to grab this when I saw it. Another thing I picked up while we were away was this cute mug, Alice in Wonderland mug. There was a whole tea shop in a place called Mystic, Connecticut that was all Alice in Wonderland themed. They had actual, you know, tea and desserts and things like that, but then they had a whole bunch of Alice in Wonderland merchandise. So I love this mug, this bright yellow and the blue lettering. It was just fantastic. So I picked it up. I am going to use it to drink out of, but right now it's sitting on my shelf as kind of like a decoration. And I also got this cute little postcard with the Drink Me bottle sitting up there with the rest of my Alice in Wonderland books. So I just thought it was such a cute place and I had to grab those. All right, let's get back to the bugs. So I went to this other thrift store and they had a few books there, a few hardcover Stephen King books that I did not own. One of them is Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. I have not owned this one, and I am so glad to have it in hardcover. I either want to get the hardcovers or the large paperback versions. I hate the mass market paperbacks, so I was so excited to find that. I also found at the Sam store a hardcover, It. So excited. I've never read it. This is one of the few Stephen King books that I have never gotten to. I kind of have a clown phobia, but with the release of the new movie and everyone rereading it, they've kind of really piqued my interest, and I don't have quite a big of a phobia now as I did when I was like younger. So I'm hoping I can read this and hopefully it doesn't like re-spark the phobia, but I definitely want to read this at some point because it just seems like it's a classic and I really should have read it, especially when I say Stephen King's one of my favorite authors. So I just have to like suck it up and do it at some point, though this thing is humongous, so it's probably going to take me like a year to read. Another book I picked up was The Atomic City Girls by Jeanette Beard. I saw this, I think, on my friend Emily Sears' channel at some point. She enjoyed it, and the premise sounds interesting, so I was like, I'll pick it up and give it a try. Then Leanne Moriarty is an author that I've read 3 books by. I've really enjoyed them. This is one that I haven't read, and that's What Alice Forgot, so I figured I would pick it up and give it a go. Another author that I really have only read 1 book of, and that's This Is Where I Leave You by Jonathon Tropper. Loved that book. Just loved it so much. I decided if I want to call him a favorite author, I have to read other books by him. So I picked up Everything Changes, and I also picked up Plan B. I don't know how either of these will be. I didn't even read what they were about. I just saw they were by an author that I liked, so I grabbed them. Another author that I've read before and I've enjoyed but want to read more of is Kristen Hanna. So I picked up Firefly Lane. A lot of people tell me this one is fantastic, so I'm really excited to get to this at some point. A few other Stephen King books that I found on my journey. One was Blaze, which was originally written under Richard Bachman, which was his pen name, but it's really Stephen King. I owned this one previously, but I owned a large print version, so now I have the regular version, and I'm excited because it's not like a huge hardcover, but it's like almost the same size as a large paperback, so I was excited for that because anything that's not mass market. Then this is another one that I own as a mass market and am now replacing with a hardcover, and that's Just After Sunset. And this is a collection of short stories, which I read and really enjoyed. I really enjoy his short stories, probably more than anything else. A couple of his collections are my absolute favorites, but that's one that I just had in mass market and I had to replace. This book I picked up, The Tenderness of Wolves by Steph Penny, not realizing I already own a copy of it, so I ended up giving my copy away to a friend and kept the hardcover. That's what happens when you get so many books. You start to forget what you bought and then you rebuy them, which is what I do. Another book that I've been really looking forward to reading because so many people have read it and liked it is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. This just seems like a fun kind of like mystery thriller kind of a read, and definitely down for that, especially when it comes to like the month of October. Another book that I picked up because I heard someone else mention it was The Art of Fielding by Chad Harback. I think I originally saw this on Russell from Ink and Paper Blog's channel. It's a book about baseball. It's like baseball themed, and I am not a big sports fan. I don't sit and watch a lot of sports. I watch football when it's football season, but only my team. I don't watch like every other team like my husband does. But I happen to love sport themed books and movies. I'll watch them all the time. So he really recommended this, and I am excited to give it a try. And if I don't like it, hopefully I can convince my husband to read it, since he is such a huge sports fan. Just excuse me while I reach over and grab the rest of my books. Another book I picked up was one by an author that I read a book last year and really loved, and that's Kathleen Kent. This is The Wolves of Andover. I read The Heretic's Daughter by her last year and was really surprised by it, surprised by how much I really enjoyed it. So I am hoping to give this one a go and to see if I can call her one of my new favorite authors. Another book I picked up is Three Dark Crowns by Kendari Blake. Everyone has talked about this before. It's a YA fantasy, and I'm just excited to give it a try because I tend to really like YA fantasy books. This book I know is going to make me cry. I don't know why I'm going to do this to myself, but I had to pick it up, and that's Lily and the Octopus by Stephen Rowley. Ugh, I know it's going to make me cry because it's about a dog, I think, who has a tumor, and I can feel myself like wanting to tear up already, but I do want to read this at some point, and I just love the cover of it. Another book that everyone has talked about is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I love this cover. I love the color of it. I love the design, and everyone that I've seen, even recently, like as a video I watched today, someone had read this and loved it. So like, I have to try it. I have to at least give it a try, and if I don't like it, I have a teenage daughter who would probably really like it. Then my husband convinced me to buy The Tales of Beetle the Bard by J.K. Rowling. I wasn't going to pay. I think if you can see the price sticker on there, it says $13. I did have a $25 gift certificate, but I ended up spending like $40 or something. It was a used bookstore. They had a couple of new books, but it was mostly used. The used books were half off the cover price. So it was still a little more expensive for some of the books than I would usually pay, because you know me, I'm a thrifty shopper, and I normally either go to Goodwill or my library book sales to get the majority of my books. But this was just such a good book, and I have a whole Harry Potter shelf, and I don't have this version of this book, so I definitely wanted to get it for my collection. We're down to the last couple books, you guys. I did end up getting a cookbook this month, only because I joined Weight Watchers, and they actually send you this beautiful cookbook. At least when I signed up, they did. And it has full color page illustrations and a lot of healthy recipes. So I'm excited to dive into this as I get further along in my Weight Watchers journey to kind of find some new recipes and figure out what I can and can't eat. The next book is one by another author that I've read one book from and enjoyed, and I want to see if I have the same feeling if I read another book, and that's Incendiary by Chris Cleave. I read Little Bee, but this one has kind of the same vibe on the cover. The silhouette of the face on Little Bee is the same. Little Bee's yellow though, this one's blue, so I thought that they would look good sitting next to each other on the shelf, and I hope I enjoyed the story. Another book by Kathleen Kent that I picked up from a different store was The Trader's Wife. So I'm excited to read this one too. I just think I am really going to love her writing because I already read that first book and loved it so much. I hope it continues on in this one. I found this book at a used bookstore and I had to pick it up, and that's Circe by Madeline Miller. Everyone's been talking about this book. I had to pick it up. I had to see what the hype's about. Hopefully I'll like it, but if not, I only spent a couple dollars on this one. Then I have no idea really what this is about, but it's called Black Rabbit Hall by Eve Chase. It just says, fans of Kate Morton and Daphne du Maurier, Rabbit Hall is an obvious must read. I like Daphne du Maurier. I haven't been blown away. I only read Rebecca by her. And Kate Morton is one of those authors that all of my other BookTube friends have read. They've read her work and have really enjoyed it, and I have not. So I saw that, I was like, well, I'll give this a try. I don't know if it's anything like either of those two authors. A lot of the time when people say that in reviews, it really doesn't turn out to be that way, but we'll see. And finally, the last book from this book haul is The Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This is volume 1 of the Rhyria Revelations. I don't know exactly what it's about, but it seems to be an epic fantasy, and I totally love them, and I know some other people that I follow have read them and enjoyed them, so I'm definitely willing to give this a try. I don't think I paid more than a couple of dollars for this one as well. Whew, so those are all of the books and little goodies that I bought while I was away in the month of June. If you have read any of these and you enjoyed them, or even if you didn't like them, let me know down below so I know how to prioritize them going forward. I hope you guys had a great month of June, and happy reading.